Hello again. We are charting the higher octave with my guest this morning, all the way from the UK. I got John Armstrong from A Speed of Sound with me on the show. Welcome to the show, and hello there, all the way, man from Manchester. Yay.
Hello, and thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It's great.
Manchester. I love Manchester. I never been there, but a lot of great
Oh, you
bands.
will.
I know. No, I know I will. There's a lot of
Just
bands that I love that was born in Manchester, New
Hmm.
Order, Joy Division, The Smiths, so many great stuff. So, and you and your band, of course. So were you raised and born in Manchester?
No, I moved here as a student in
Oh,
1985, so almost 40 years ago, and just stayed because it is such a brilliant city.
oh,
Um, there was no reason to go anywhere else, basically.
oh yeah. So music wise, it must be a great music scene there, even up to this day.
There is a lot going on. I mean, locally at the independent musician level, there's a tremendous amount of it. Sort of venues are closing down. It's a bit tough
Mm.
from that perspective, and therefore there are more people trying to get gigs at less places. And um, yeah, I mean that's not Manchester. It's
It's all
across the
all across.
universe,
Yeah.
isn't it, at the moment?
A, a
So
sig- a significant bar or club over there was the Hacienda, right?
yes,
It's very significant for me because I'm a big fan of the New Order and the Joy Division, and I was all
mm,
part of that scene. Well, I was alive back then. I was young, but I wish I wish I went to that club.
had the opportunity to
Um,
go. Yeah,
I,
it's
I think it's an apartment building now. That's where that used to be. Um,
yeah, it's been turned into flats, so people live there, and it
yeah,
still has that black and yellow hazard type stuff around the door. Um,
yeah.
they can probably charge more for the flats with that there.
When I did an interview with Peter Hook, we talked about the Hacienda and what's over there now. It's
Mm.
and all that great times. But you are an amazing musician. You have so much endurance. You formed in 1989,
Yeah,
which was actually a great time to make music. That era of the post-punk era, and then going into the 80s, which is my favorite actually. I play a lot of 80s and post-punk music, and of course the goth industrial, and so much other.
yes.
You have this amazing album. It's a three album, which was already released actually in May of this year. A lot of people don't make this kind of album, So how did you come up with all those songs? I mean, did you put them all together and then you just did this all at one time, or was it something you just kind of?
Um, yeah, basically, it was all one entity from inception. Um, Although we formed in 1989, the lineup has sort of rotated. There's been
Right.
90 people in the Speed of Sound since we started. I'm the only one who's been there throughout. Uh, but it's been static. We haven't rotated since 2018, which is when
Oh, wow. That's
John
good.
Broadhurst, our drummer, joined us. So I mean
Oh.
that's 6 years, which is longer than most bands last by quite some time. Um, so when John joined, it's sort of all really welded together a lot, and
Mhm.
um, I kind of knew at that stage who was going to be in it, and to be able to write for those people rather than write something and see how it fits together. I actually had players in mind, which hadn't really happened before on previous albums.
Mhm.
Um, so we had, yeah, we were recording the previous album, which came out in 2021, Museum of Tomorrow. We recorded that in 2019 and
Mhm.
just managed to get the last session done in the beginning of March 2020, just before all the shutters came down for the pandemic. We made it by a few days, which really simplified things. It meant we could actually do the mixing and the
Mhm.
mastering of that album and
So
get it out at the time that we
you're
meant.
talk you're talking about the music for this one, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
But I had already started writing the music for this one while we were recording that. So
Oh.
it's 5 years gestation period. So it was October 2019 is when this one really started forming itself. I use a notebook and write down all ideas and phrases and possible titles and weird words that rhyme with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I took that with me when I went on holiday in October 2019 and just sat on the hotel balcony and wrote 16 songs that week, which is
Mm-hmm.
the vast bulk of the new
So that
album.
was during the pandemic
Yeah, well, just before.
or just before.
Just before.
Wow. What month was that?
That was October 2019.
So you had no idea the pandemic was gonna
Oh,
happen.
absolutely not. And we were still recording the previous album then.
Oh.
So it's an awful lot going on. And yeah, we just managed to get the other one finished in time. So when we couldn't do anything else, I had half of this together and basically wrote the rest of it. Um, this year, 2024, it's the band's 35th anniversary.
Right, it is.
Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
congratulations.
thank you.
That's
We
very
thought
special.
we should mark that. So yeah, I wanted to do something big for it, and 3 albums is quite big. So that sort of fitted together.
Yeah.
Each of the albums sort of stands alone as an independent piece, but they do fit together. They have a lot of themes that are looked at from different points of view, depending on which album it is. So yeah, you don't have to listen to the whole 3 album cycle to get something out of it. That they function as individuals. They have their own personality and their own vibe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is I just want to mention what it is a cornucopia victory album. Victory. And that is the 3 album set, a cornucopia, which is it means plenty. You know, it's a picture of the horn, right? And
Yes.
it's a it's kind of like a musical tale, right?
Yeah.
This whole thing,
I
like,
can
it's
show
so much.
you that's the physical CD,
Hmm.
which opens up into the 3 discs.
Yeah, and I really love the whole goddess theme here. You know,
Yes,
there's I mean, Greek mythology is so special to me. I love Greek mythology
it's good stuff.
and all these things. They're very significant. They all have a meaning. If people research it, if people look up who Minerva was in Greek mythology, and that's one of the. Maybe you can explain a little bit about each of those individually because it's very significant. You know, when you look, I mean, to me, when I look at music, especially when I
Mm.
have an album like this, I would flip them. I mean, this vinyls came out like this back in the 70s. There were 70s music vinyls that have these kind of themes, and they really paid attention to these things um and you know just look at the albums that came out. I mean, of course, musicians still do this, but not a whole lot. They don't make
Certainly
three.
not with the major labels. It's just not what the music industry does at the moment, which is a
Mm.
bit of a shame. I think
Yeah.
it seems very one-dimensional out there in the major label world.
Probably there's
Yeah,
just
so
so much music now, it's compared to how it used to be. People took the time to make album covers the way that, when you look at 4AD, right? And all those
yes, they
labels,
have
I
some
really
great sleeves.
focus on the cover. I mean, they still do it. I'm not saying bands don't do that anymore. They do, of course, but it was just very, very significant at that time.
Yeah, it was recognized as part of the art and part of the whole package,
Yeah.
which I think possibly because of streaming, that's really diminished. If you're essentially just going to have a thumbnail,
Mhm.
there's a limit to what you can actually put in that. It's
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah.
recognizable at that size.
You have three discs, I mean, they all have a theme. So one of them, I wanted to talk about each one. I mean, if you don't
Mm,
mind, just to break them down a little bit,
of course.
because when people don't see this, I mean, I want them to recognize that there's three symbols. One of them is Minerva, who was a Roman goddess who represents wisdom, justice, victory, that kind of thing. Is there a reason why you pick these themes and why you put the music in those certain parts of the album?
Yes, basically the personalities of the goddesses. Goddesses always hang out in threes, though, don't they? That's part of the Trinity thing. You never find one on their own. There are always three of them. Um, yeah, Minerva is basically an adaptation of the Greek Athena,
Mm,
and
yeah.
she later sort of mutated into the Britannia figure. So there's a sort of link with Britain there as well. But looking back to Minerva, she's defensive warfare and strategic warfare. It's one of her portfolio things, and I think there's a lot of the situation of independent music at the moment is defensive warfare. That the major labels are just so dominant at the moment. They're steamrollering everything else completely out of the way, and anything you do, it's in the face of that. And that belligerence of, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway, is part of what the Minerva album is on about. The first track, the opening track on Minerva, is called West Wind, and
Yeah.
it's
I
not
love that.
um, sort of cultural imperialism and just the force of the major labels sweeping everything else out of the way. The West Wind is the dominant wind direction over here in Britain.
Yeah. The god of the west wind, Zephyrus.
Mm,
Yeah.
but there'd be too many gods, too many gods. So yeah, basically that's Minerva as the belligerence of it, and victory is, I mean, a self-explanatory name there, but it's the victory of making art for your own sake rather than trying to define it in platinum discs
Hmm.
and selling out Wembley Arena, which just is not possible unless you have massive industry backing. That's not how you would measure success as an independent artist. So it's the victory of saying, I'm doing this on my terms. Um, and it's just a celebration of all independent music. I mean, not just ourselves, but the underground
Hmm.
as a worldwide entity. It's all of it. There's a song called Underground on Victory, and the chorus is about a tree falling down in a forest with nobody there. It does make a noise. We are there, and we like that sound. It doesn't matter that hordes of people aren't there at the same time. We're doing it for us,
Hmm.
and collectively, that's what independent music does. So the third disc, Bounty, which is the harvest, that sort of signifies the fruits of artistic freedom. It's doing things the way that you want to do them and achieving success on your own terms. So yeah, there's overlap between the three, but they're
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at it from just different perspectives.
Yeah, I really appreciate that because I'm a big fan of course, the underground. I've been playing
Mm.
underground music that, um, I mean, this the underground music is beautiful to me. I mean, I play them all the time. I mean, I used to do a radio show in called a Feast of Friends on
Mhm.
KTU. It was a underground. I play a lot of underground music, and then there's a big following for that as well. And I'm so glad that
Yeah,
you were able to put this all together, and it is a very in a very positive light too. Bounty. I mean, I see that as in Greek mythology is Demeter, Ceres in Roman mythology, but she is the goddess of fertility and harvest, which is kind of it's all connected to cornucopia, right?
it is. It
Is
is.
which is bounty and plentiful and all those other things, and is that it has that symbol of that horn, which is
Oh, plenty.
harvest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pineapples and grapes and everything
Yeah,
else good
food and fruits, the fruit of
yeah, of your labors.
yeah, and that's exactly what underground music is. People work really hard to make music, and
Yes.
it pays off in the end. It really does. Hard work is good work. It pays off in the end. Yeah, I'm so glad that you put this together in that way. I would have never known that if you didn't explain it.
Mm.
So because everybody has their own explanation of it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as soon as you write something, you put it out there, and people will interpret it in their own ways, which is inevitable
Yeah.
and fine because it is going to happen. You have to accept that.
Right, right. So this album, this is a series. How do they find it? If they want to get a copy, they want to purchase a
Yeah.
record.
Well, physically, it's a 3 vinyl set or a 3 CD set, and that's released by Big Stir Records in California. So you can
Mm.
find that on their Bandcamp. That's the best way to do it because
Oh.
postage
So
on,
the Bandcamp page is Big Stir Records in Bandcamp. That's how you
yeah,
find it. Okay.
but for the physical one. Um, for the digital releases, they're basically the first 2 discs are out there on the streamers already. The third disc will join it on the 22nd of November. And
Hmm.
um, if you want downloads of Victory or Bounty, then you can get that from the Speed of Sound UK on Bandcamp. So
Okay.
Big
All
Star
right.
Records are handling the digital release for Minerva and the physical release for the 3. And the other 2 digital releases are ourselves, but they will all be up there on the streamers.
So people can find it on Bandcamp. So it's
Yeah,
called the Speed of Sound on Bandcamp.
the Speed of
Oh,
Sound
okay. Okay.
UK.
I'll be sure to put the link on the bottom of the
Yes,
information.
but for physical, it's Big Star Records.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your inspiration, musical inspiration. I see many different bands that you could be inspired.
Well, I am. There's an awful lot of different stuff in there. I listen to a lot of varied music. I mean, classical and jazz, not just rock-based stuff, and it all filters through basically. Uh, there's an awful lot of the Who in how I play guitar. They were a sort of foundational reason for picking up the guitar, along with the Small Faces and the chords. Those are probably the 3 that made me actually think that looks like a damn fine thing to do. I will learn to play guitar. Um, so that they all set that off, and they are sort of origin influences. But there's a lot of 60s stuff, which I mean, the people say 60s music, but that is so vast. It can mean anything from Sandy Shaw to Jefferson Airplane to Led Zeppelin. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a very wide thing. But
Mhm.
punk is a big influence, and post-punk, new wave stuff, and the Beatles, yes, um, and yeah, just everything I hear goes in there. But it's not just me; it's the other people in the band as well. When I write something, I'll come up with the lyrics, the chord
So
structure.
are you the
The,
major songwriter?
yeah,
No.
I'm the songwriter, but I don't sort of act as a musical director. We'll go into rehearsal. I'll play through what I've got and say to the others, what do you think you can add to this? Or how do you want to approach it? And
Mhm.
they have good ideas, so we try them. And it's sort of a team effort,
Yeah.
which is one of the nice things about having a slightly rotating
Yeah.
um,
It's like a collective.
over that length of time, because every time someone leaves or someone joins, you get another different influence to play with going in there.
Yeah.
And
But
all the other
but
guys
these
have
group
different.
this current lineup has been it's also the lineup for the live act, right? You guys perform live as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's also
we haven't played live since before
before the pandemic.
because we've been so busy
Yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah.
recording studio, and it's the actual release process is still going on, so
Mhm.
we are still pretty busy with that. And
So I wonder if you can just speak briefly about who the players are in the band.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, I mean, let's start with me because I'm here. Um, Guitars, half the vocals and songwriting. Then there's Anne-Marie Crowley. She joined us in 2015,
Mhm.
and she plays second guitar when we're live. and does the other half of the vocals. So we have male, female voices, and we alternate who's doing the lead, which is nice. Kevin Roach has been playing bass. I've been playing with him since about 1990, not necessarily in the band, but he came in 2013. So he's that's 11 years now. And yeah, John Broadhurst on drums joined us in 2018. My youngest son also plays on keyboards when we need him. So he's Henry Armstrong. And that's good to have another sort of color in the musical palette there.
He's also the younger,
Yeah,
different generation.
Different
So
generation.
yeah.
Something that we've added in a cornucopia that we haven't done before is brass. So my actual neighbour from across the road, physically he is right across the road, is Bob Dinn, and he's a jazz trumpeter. So he put some trumpet and flugelhorn on 5 of the pieces on the new stuff.
Oh, beautiful. And so all you guys live in Manchester. You're all in Manchester.
Oh yeah. You can't walk down the street without passing musicians. It's great.
If I ever go to Manchester, I'm gonna go by where you guys are. I'll definitely do that because that's amazing. What is it you think that motivates you to continue creating music since 1989?
It's I mean, not just me, but the rest of the band. We derive pleasure from it. It's the act of creating something, sort of sculpting with sound and creating something from nothing. It's the creativity, it's the drive of that's certainly kept me going over the 35 years. It's just wanting to find out and experiment and just exploring sound.
So this album came out in May. Do you have something lined up for the future? I mean, what's going to be coming for the Speed of Sound?
Well, it's sort of the physical thing came out in May, but it's been going onto the streamers in a staggered way because it's so big. If you just there's 38 songs on it. If you put that out in one chunk, it's too much for people to grasp at any one time. So each of the 3 discs has gone onto the streamers at separate times. So Minerva was May, Victory in September, and Bounty will be later this month. So it's taken up the whole of the year. And
so yeah. Bounty will come out when in the streamer?
22nd of November.
22nd of November. And then Victory came out when?
That was, I think, 20th of September.
Okay. And then Minerva in May.
Yeah.
Okay. When the album came out.
Yes, when the physical release came out. So it was good to have sort of 2 albums worth of physical exclusive at that time.
Yeah. I love how you put this all out for the 35th year anniversary of your band, forming 1989, Speed of Sound. So tell us about the title. What is the Speed of Sound? How did that come about?
Yes. I mean, I was just sitting near my amp practicing one day and just looking at the cone, you can see it twitching. And I just thought, it doesn't matter how fast I'm playing here, the sound is still coming out of that cone at the same speed. All music is the speed of sound. And I just thought,
very true. I love how you put that, the speed of sound. Just think about it. When you think about the speed of sound, you see a timeline going through. And you guys came from 1989. You were created in 1989. So it's like going back, it's timeless almost,
Yeah.
The speed of sound. So I see a timeline. That's how I envision that.
Yes. Very much.
Because, I mean, everybody has their own opinion of music, right? Depending on how they were raised and what they listen to and how they, what they know. So they have their own version of music. But that's how I see music because I go back and I love 1989. That was a great year. That was a great year for music. It really was with the 80s. And I spin the 80s. I play in a nightclub and I played on radio and everything else. And even when I'm just driving in the car. So I totally can relate to how you describe this whole album. It's called Cornucopia. The Victory album was released in May from Big Stir Records, and now it's on streaming on various platforms, right?
Yes,
Yep. And people want to check that out, they can go to your Bandcamp page, A Speed of Sound. You also have a website.
we
Yeah,
do. It's the speedofsounduk.com.
yeah, and everything is
It's
in
the
there.
same handle on all of the social media things. So if you just type the Speed of Sound UK, you'll find us wherever we are, which is
Yeah.
everywhere, really.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on this, and I hope to hear more about your music in the future and have you back on the show. And big
There
shout
will
out
be
to
more.
Shauna from Shameless Promotion PR, who always brings some of the most amazing musicians, and I get to meet them, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for joining me, John
Thank you.
Armstrong. All right.